Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself, or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator John Kennedy confronted FBI Director Kash Patel with one of the most controversial questions surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case. Was Epstein's death truly a suicide, or is there more to the story? The tense exchange immediately grabbed attention, but the hearing only became more explosive from there. Kennedy went on to accuse the FBI of serious political misconduct, claiming the Bureau paid millions of dollars in settlements to agents who were dismissed after disputes tied to the Trump investigations. He also raised questions about the FBI's handling of Hunter Biden's laptop, pointing out that federal...
Mr. Director, worry not. We'll make sure your agency is adequately funded. This judge you arrested in Wisconsin, she was breaking federal law, wasn't she?
Yes, that's why we arrested her.
She was helping an illegal immigrant escape being taken into custody. Is that right?
Yes, and the field agents decided to open the case, work the case.
And as Americans, do we get to pick and choose which laws we want to follow?
We do not.
If you're a state court judge, do you get to decide you don't want to follow federal law?
No.
And if you violate federal law, you get arrested, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
That's called equal treatment under the law, isn't it?
Yes, Senator.
You remember Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, don't you?
Yes, Senator.
Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. Mr. Strzok worked for the FBI. I think Ms. Page worked for Justice. The Inspector General found in its investigation that they hated President Trump, and they really wanted Secretary Clinton to win. Is that true?
That's correct, sir.
And this would be the same same Ms. Page who sent an email to Mr. Strzok with whom she was having an affair. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? Right? And Mr. Strzok with the FBI, senior official at the FBI, replied, quote, no, he won't. We'll stop it. Did I read that correctly?
You did, Senator.
Okay. Now, Ms. Page got quit before she could get fired. Mr. Strzok was fired. And predictably, they filed a lawsuit because in Washington, it's easier to divorce your spouse than it is to fire a federal employee. Why did the FBI give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 to settle a lawsuit?
Senator, I do not know that settlement was reached in the prior administration.
Who made the decision?
The prior Department of Justice.
Who in the prior Department of Justice?
The settlement for that kind of case can only come from the Attorney General, which would be Attorney General Merrick Garland.
So the Attorney General decided to give Mr. Strzok $1.2 million and Ms. Page $800,000 after they were fired after actively interfering in the 2016 election. Is that right?
My understanding is that was a settlement they agreed to.
Pass me the sick bucket, please. The Hunter Biden laptop. In October of 2016, shortly before the election, the New York Post wrote a story that was widely covered talking about Mr. Hunter Biden's influence peddling scheme based on his laptop. A couple of weeks later, Secretary of State, soon to be Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, organized a group of 51 so-called intelligence experts. Had some real rock stars on the list. Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, and they said, oh, no, the story in the New York Post is not true. It's based on Russian disinformation. You remember that?
I do, Senator, as the lead investigator for Russiagate for the House Intel Committee.
Yeah. The FBI had had the laptop for 10 months, hadn't they?
They did, Senator.
So the FBI knew right before the election that it wasn't Russian disinformation, didn't they?
And that was confirmed by the Inspector General's report.
Yeah. Who at the FBI refused to let the FBI tell the American people the truth?
I don't have that name in front of me, sir.
Well, would you look?
I will, sir.
I'd like to know. I'd like a name, not a division. I'd like the name. Person with a brain and a beating heart.
Yes, sir.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When do you think you'll have it done, Kash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die?
Senator, we've been working on that, and we're doing it in a way that protects victims.
During a heated exchange on FBI accountability and government transparency, Senator John Kennedy confronted FBI Director Kash Patel with a question that has fueled public debate for years. Did Jeffrey Epstein truly die by suicide, or was foul play involved? The issue has remained one of the most controversial mysteries in modern American politics ever since Epstein was found dead in a Manhattan federal jail in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Because of Epstein's ties to wealthy elites, politicians, and influential figures, many Americans have continued to question the official explanation surrounding his death. Patel responded by saying he personally believes Epstein took his own life. But critics immediately focus on the wording of that answer. He expressed a personal belief rather than pointing to definitive proof or a final conclusion that could silence public skepticism. Questions surrounding the case have persisted because of the unusual circumstances reported at the time. Epstein had reportedly been removed from suicide watch shortly before his death. Security cameras near his cell malfunctioned. Guards allegedly failed to complete required checks. Records were reportedly falsified, and Epstein was left alone after his cellmate was transferred. Some forensic experts also publicly questioned whether certain injuries matched the official narrative. These details were not limited to internet speculation. Many were widely reported by major news organizations and discussing official investigations, fueling years of distrust and suspicion. Kennedy then pressed Patel on whether the FBI and Department of Justice would finally release all remaining information connected to the case. Patel said the agencies were reviewing materials carefully to protect victims and prevent the release of sensitive content, including illegal abuse material. However, when Kennedy demanded clear timeline, Patel only responded that disclosures would happen in the near future. Kennedy's reaction reflected the frustration many Americans feel after years of promised transparency followed by delays, partial releases, and unanswered questions. Public pressure has continued to grow as officials repeatedly claim more Epstein-related information will eventually become public. The controversy has only intensified because several political figures previously promised full disclosure of the Epstein files. Supporters of transparency argue that regardless of how Epstein died, the government should release as much evidence as legally possible so the public can finally understand what happened behind closed doors. You're watching Inside Politics. Subscribe now for more political analysis, hearing breakdowns, and major updates.